Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like and comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. Now, when it comes to what I'm about to talk about in terms of the war room, this isn't exactly war. Now, this is the internal strifes of a corp, first of all, for CNK, and then it is the issue between Death Phantom and Genesis Federation. And both topics are very, very sensitive and very broad spectrum on the problems. So let me get into it with DP versus Genesis Federation. Now, Genesis Federation has applied heavily to keep combating uh, Death Phantom or DP's players because of the fact that they had caught them using bots. Now, the development team and the team at Eve Echoes is currently looking into the issue. I do know that that is exactly happening. And what has been happening is Genesis Federation has kept attacking Death Phantom because they had this type of background in some of their players. Now, Death Phantom has sent several messages back at the leader of Genesis Federation, some of them incriminating themselves into admitting that they have botter players and so forth. So, yes, it is true, there were botters. Death Phantom did know about it. They did admit to it in direct comms and communication with Genesis Federation, or it was a mock or a tease, which came out as an admission of guilt. Whichever way it was, they poorly structured their statement and said, "How do you like losing to us botters?" So that's exactly what they said, and that's what they did as their big brag. Now, it was a poor brag, and yes, that is the exact statement. So moving on from there, the next thing that happened was Genesis started a kill board open to the public for their kills against Death Phantom. Every retriever, every ship, and everything kept piling on. The bill on their losses is in the hundreds of billions at the moment and still climbing. So Genesis has kept hitting them and will keep hitting them because of the fact that they were caught with bots in their corp, and they now need to double check and recheck who was botting. And that was really what made things very sore at the moment for the Genesis and uh, Death Phantom war. Now, a lot of the operations have been going on and they've been fighting for a number of days at this point. So that's all that I have to report from the Genesis side. I'm not going to talk about anything further in that issue. Now, heading off to CNK. Now, CNK is my home corp and the corp that I'm in. Now, this issue is very sensitive. I have to handle it a little bit different from how I would normally go about handling these issues because it is the corp I'm in and I don't want to force unnecessary issues to arise from what is being said. So, I did my own investigating around this, and prior to some of the accusations, I had already spoken to a few players about incidents. And they had told me they don't take any offense in it. They talk just as bad as they are spoken to. So basically, they admitted that it was just friendly banter between two friends, and that's the way in which things were going. And then some of the other things which happened was a little bit of abrasion between two managers over comfort, should I say, in the game. Now, here's exactly what happened in the course of CNK. CNK engaged in the war with OP4S Reds. The OP4S Reds had forced CNK to reduce functions within their home base of FAT6P. They couldn't rat, they couldn't mine, they couldn't do anything within the region, and were forced to move out of the region to other locations to try and continue with base activity. Some players moved out towards the Querius Coalition and Trimarch. Other players moved out towards True Orbit and False Trajectory in their region of Nullsec. Now, with all of this going on, there was a lot of mining, a lot of ratting, and a lot of players grew close together between two different corps. That is the CNK Corps and False Trajectory, and some members during the end of the war decided to stay as False Trajectory members instead of moving on with CNK because they felt that FAT6P wasn't safe. Now, the reality of it is all of nullsec isn't safe. No sector is safe 100%, but that is the general basis of what happened. Now, a call for all members to return to FET6P was issued by lead writer, and then it was issued by one of the other members of the corp. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning lead writer by name in this is because lead writer was very active in everything. He made sure that the corp was well set up, that we had enough allies, that everything was being built to make sure that we could hold on to our territory and defend anybody that messed with us. Defend ourselves against anybody that messed with us. So that was what was being planned out by lead writer. He put in a tremendous amount of effort doing diplomacy. It was to the extent that he didn't have enough time to play and have fun within the game. Now, moving on from this, the issue then went on to people saying that he wasn't part of it, he wasn't doing this, he wasn't doing that. Now, that is because you can't see everything that the leaders do and everything that they do in diplomacy. They seal the chat rooms for them to do diplomacy so that other people didn't get involved and cause problems within their diplomacy. And it may have been 3 or 4 people who were privy to what was happening within the diplomacy at a time. However, lead writer was there 90% of the time and doing this work all day long. So that is why lead had such a heavy load on him, and that's what he had done for the corp. Now, moving forward, when they had reclaimed FET6P and everybody had been ordered to come back, another bunch of players didn't want to come back to FET6P. Now, the reason for that was they didn't like the anomalies within the area. They felt that they were too difficult for them to handle with their ships, and they wanted an easier ratting ground. So basically, they wanted to shift from the heavy armor builds to shield builds so that you could fight players with NPCs or anomaly enemies with damage that reacts well to shields, that doesn't just eat through shields. So they wanted to move down to another region of space near Curse and hopefully get to the other enemies in Angel space. Now, that is exactly what they did, and they moved out of the corp. And when they moved out, they brought a ton of drama with them, with a whole lot of accusations. Now, one of the members who's responsible for the accusations, I personally spoke to him in a chat before any of these issues happened, and he said that the same player who they accused of being toxic was like a friend. It's friendly banter, there's nothing offensive about it. I don't take offense, he isn't being rude. All of this was said to me, and to make it sound clear that there wasn't anything negative going on within those rooms, because I was afraid to get involved in any of the conversations due to the way that they spoke. And that was originally how it was, because you don't want to be the rude person in the conversation by telling people not to speak in a certain way when it's not really what it seems like, because you don't want to misunderstand the situation. Now, I did do this here, and the person who originally came out with calling a person rude, they confirmed this here. Now, I'm not saying who it is. There were other people who said it afterwards. I didn't speak to them. But from the majority of people who join comms, a lot of players like sitting around and talking with this person who was described as being a toxic personality. And that is the reality of it. Tons of people do. And then he was voted out of management and so forth, and you know the whole gist of it. And then the corps separated into a new alliance called the Nova Initiatus, and now it's CNK and Nova Initiatus holding FET6P. So that is the way in which things are sitting right now. That is the breakdown of the corps that are there. Now, within this whole issue, there's a very complex and very sensitive issue to talk about, and that is the blame game within this whole situation. Now, in no way was any one person responsible for this conflict. Honestly, I don't blame lead writer for saying anything to agree with anybody just to stop conversations. If he had to stop conversations, the promotion and the leaving out of people and people leaving the corp, it's all natural progression through the game. These things happen. Blaming it and putting it on one person's head isn't the way to go, especially when a lot of the communication was centered around that one person, because tons of people enjoyed coming into comms with that person and talking with them despite their natural demeanor. Now, all this being said, I know that it is a bit abrasive, and I have tried to keep it as objective as possible. I myself enjoy talking to the person who was accused of being toxic and so forth, and in no way is he abusive or harsh or in any way a negative person when it comes to talking to. He plays with you, he talks with you in the same way that you talk with him. If you are very, very soft and you don't speak, he'll chirp you up a little bit. Nothing rude, nothing vulgar. Get you up to the point where you're talking, you'll talk, you'll joke like people of the same age, and that's how it goes. And it's basically friendly talk between people who are friends on an online game, and that was about it. Sometimes you don't get along with people, sometimes you tell people statements, sometimes the influence of other people's statements influence you. All of this plays a massive role in what's going on, and that's exactly what happened within this situation that happened for CNK Nova Initiatis now. So that's the whole thing which happened, and I hope that I gave you a better understanding of what happened within CNK. CNK is still there as a corporation. We're just taking a little bit of a hiatus from growing at the moment. I'm saying taking a hiatus, but it might not be a hiatus. It might be 1 or 2 days off, or it might be a week or a month. Depends on how the players are feeling within CNK. And then we're going to start growing back up and getting our corp back together. Now, originally with this, I was actually going to give you some footage of me playing out and farming anomalies. However, I ran into one of the bugs of the game and I got stuck in the middle of warping to the station in such a way that I was stuck in the anomaly. So that's why there is no footage, like a lot of you have been asking. I'm really sorry for that. I could even show you the footage of the glitch that happened. So yeah, that's just about it. Most probably my ship will be recovered in an hour or so and everything will be back to normal, but there won't be any videos with me featuring ratting in them. I'm really sorry for anybody who wanted that. It's just a bit too difficult and I'm a bit scared of losing my ship in the next 15 days. So thank you all for watching and have a good day. Oh wait, before I leave this video, there is one more thing. In the description down below is a link to the Discord for the Defense Force Federation. There's also a link to my personal Patreon. If you do want to support me and this channel, you can go in there and become a Patreon if you want. It's purely up to you. My Patreon is set at the minimum level that I can set it. It won't allow me to drop it any lower. Then there's also the Teespring store. If you want, go through, look at some of the merch, see if you want any of it, and try to use it as you wish if any of those items appeal to you. I have marked down the items as much as I possibly can before it tells me that I can't sell them. And all of those items, I have selected the best materials from what they offer from Teesprings for those products. So I hope that you all enjoy any of the products that you purchase. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.